My name's Amanda Kaufman, and today we are talking about a big myth, which is that you need to have a huge amount of visibility in order to be successful as a coach. So, we're going to be talking about why you don't necessarily need to have a massive following. And a massive following on social media does not automatically mean you make more money or have more impact. Well, we're going to be just like digging into this for reals, though. All right, so let's talk about this big myth that you need a huge following to attract clients. If social media makes you feel really, really awkward or like it's hard to do, then I'm glad you're here because we can start to really unpack this. And today we're really going to be talking about how do we move past that feeling of being overwhelmed or being invisible with your social media? And the reason why this is so super important and why I'm talking about it is because many, 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 many coaches are hanging out on the sidelines. They're not getting on the field. They're not playing full out. And I want you to be in a position that you can play full out. So if you're with me, shout a Y in the chat and let's go. So most coaches, most entrepreneurs actually, most people really believe that if you have more visibility, that is automatically going to lead to more followers and more views of your content and more likes. And increasingly in 2025, a lot of people get their validation from how many views one particular piece of content gets. There's so many marketers out there that are promising that they'll help you to get viral, for example. And if you can't spend 10 seconds on the TikTok without people talking about, here's what I do to be viral and this is how we're literally screaming it from our cars, which is just kind of incredible. But I think the reality is that what you're going for, if you're a coach, if you're an expert, if you're a business owner, is you're not going for virality, you're going for connection. You're going for a real relationship with people. And visibility is really more for you about being remembered. It's not necessarily being everywhere all at once all the time. And the most successful coaches are really known by a few. And, I grew up in a really small town. Let me know if you did too. But I grew up in a really, really small town where, you know, I knew everybody. Everybody knew me. There was no anonymity. And now I live in a metroplex that's like 11 million people. And it's so interesting, by the way, just a little side note there, that it's more common in a big metroplex not to know your neighbors, right? But in a small town, that was super weird. So for me, I remember my brain kind of going through these growth stages of, wow, what's 10,000 people? What's 50,000 people? What's 100,000 people? What's a million people? And when you're on social media, you are joining literally millions of users, millions of other business owners. Like it's many very, very large countries of people that are on the platform at the same time. And that's actually an unfathomable number of people. Like it is actually really, really hard to think of. And if you take that back to your coaching business or your expert business, you can have a lot of viability with what, a dozen clients? For some of you, you'd be great with eight, clients paying you because you're charging a lot, you're doing premium services and it just doesn't take as much to build a successful business. And yet, as an industry, we're super, super fixated on like how many followers does somebody have on Instagram or how many connections do I have on my LinkedIn or how many subscribers do I have on my email list. And those things are important. I don't want to diminish that, you want to make progress and those key performance indicators can kind of give you an indication of whether you're growing, whether your message is resonating. And you can start to diagnose like where should I spend time in my business based on your particular key performance indicators. But my purpose in this live is to say that an interim metric is not actually an indicator of success. You have to look at lots of the metrics altogether. And again, visibility for a coach is really about connection because people don't buy from people that are just wildly popular and that's the only reason. They buy because they trust you. So, your visibility on social media is far more about consistency, it's about connection, it's about meeting real people where they actually are. And most real people, real consumers of social media, they're watchers. I was just talking with one of my clients who just closed another two clients, and she was saying the same thing, that her clients were mentioning her content but never had ever even left a heart, never had ever left a comment. Now, I mean, the people that leave hearts and comments, we love those too, right? Because they help push your visibility in the algorithm. That's amazing. You're probably helping them tremendously with your content for free. That's incredible, right? But like when it comes to the people who actually pay, very often they're what I call a voyeur. They're somebody who's watching from the side to see if you are legitimate. So, the idea with visibility for you is that it's more about showing up where people actually are and keeping the conversation going. So, think, for example, sharing posts that people can comment to, keeping those comments going, just even taking the time to reply to comments. A lot of people don't realize, but that engagement is so valuable for a coach, because when people really engage with you back and forth, it adds to your humanity. It adds to the fact that you're a person in a community who's connecting. Direct message conversations, right? So your messenger is a beautiful place to be building relationship. And what I found, I made a big pivot in my business in the past year or so to focus more on excellence and organic. And what I've discovered was like, wow, people will have really real high quality conversations with you on DM. But the role of your content is to just like remind them that you're there, to be a reason to follow up. And again, it adds to the trust and the credibility of you are who you say you are. And especially I think in today's landscape, there's a lot of people who delegate their conversations in chat, and now we're automating. We're seeing a lot more AI and having conversations with robots. People really do value connection with people. So just remember that, like, be a person, be a human being, stay connected. The other thing that's a really valuable thing is stories. So I super rejected, and neglected stories for a long time, because when I publish a story, I don't get hundreds and hundreds of people looking at it because I don't have hundreds of thousands of followers. But I noticed that when I started getting really consistent with stories, the same 20 or so people would see my stories. And very often there was a core group of people who would reply to my stories, engage with me. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is another channel of building relationships I didn't even realize. And I had, put so much pressure. And here's where I want to relieve a little bit of your pressure. I put so much pressure on having really polished posts, and I have posted so many times. I really should do the math. It's like in the many thousands. I've made many thousands of posts, and most coaches are stuck on their first 20 posts, their first 10 posts, maybe even your first post, because you're putting so much pressure on, like, it has to be really polished and it has to go viral and it has to get a lot of views and I have to get a lot of positive feedback for what I'm doing, because if I don't get that, then I'm not going to pursue it. And I think, like, if there was something that was a little broken in my brain that has helped me, and I think you can break this in your own brain, is I actually really don't care about the number of views or the number of people who see me live. Like, I genuinely don't care. And if you've been here with me live, live video doesn't get the same kind of reach that other kinds of content do in today's environment. People are looking for a little more polish. We're working on our YouTube channel all the time to get it better and better. And by the way, you can check that out at, it's called the Amanda Kaufman Show. But I think, like, because the algorithms change and because of all that, you would think that we just like stop. And I've considered it and I still consider it. But the thing is that the live video is a piece of value that I like to leave in my free community, Clients Over Chaos. So it's like one of the many benefits of being in my free community is every single week you get a unfiltered, real talk kind of a conversation and a chance to come and join me on live chat to talk about these different topics. So I just want to do a little mindset check in. Like, are you hiding behind that perfectionism? You know, this idea, I think of perfectionism, there's two types, okay? There's maladaptive perfectionism, which is where you are procrastinating, you are engaging in negative self-talk, you are, I call it like weaponizing your progress. Like you're taking what would be something that, like, if a friend did the same thing, you would be like, good for you, friend, awesome for doing that, friend. You would like cheer them on, right? But for you, when you're in maladaptive perfectionism, you're like, it's not good enough, this is not up to our standards. And because of that, you don't publish it, you don't put it out there, you're endlessly working on the thing, but you never let it see the light of day, and certainly never let somebody else see it, right? So that's hiding behind perfectionism. There's another kind of perfectionism, and that to me is super important. It's the pursuit of excellence. And the big difference between knowing if you're maladaptive or whether you are in the pursuit of excellence is, if you're in the pursuit of excellence, you hit publish. You hit publish, right? And you let other people see your work, and you let the feedback loop happen. And you use that feedback loop to perfect what you're doing. So, like, perfection in the sense of excellence pursuit is really about doing things after it publishes. Adaptive perfectionism is what a lot, when people say like you're a perfectionist, they usually are talking about the maladaptive type. And I want you to pursue like real excellence. Like, I want you to pursue the kind of excellence that requires the risk of being seen, the risk of doing it wrong, the risk of using the wrong words, the risk of not nailing it and not getting it right. The second thing that I want to check on with you today on the mindset around this is, are you making visibility mean performance instead of presence? And I'm like, woof, as I was thinking about these mindsets, I'm like putting together my notes for today's live. I was like, this is huge. I think a lot of people are posting for the sake of posting. They're not thinking about the overall story that they're architecting. They're posting for the sake of posting, and they're not thinking about the overall strategy of the relationship. And if I sound like a freaking robot for saying the strategy of the relationship, come at me, brah, because here's the thing. I've been married for 15 years. Okay, so I'm just so curious. Like, I'm going to look this up. We're live. So I'm going to look this up right now. How long do people typically stay married in the United States? I'm just curious, right? So I know a couple of statistics that scared the bejeepers out of me. Number one, more than 50% of marriages nowadays are ending in divorce. But did you know that if it was a second marriage, that statistic goes up to like 75%? It's wild. So it wasn't my, like, I wasn't the second. Chris is my first marriage, but I'm his second. So I was like, oh my gosh, statistically, if I just leave all of this alone, we're doomed. Like, that's terrible. So let's see. The average length of a marriage is approximately 8.2 years. Okay, cool, cool, cool. So we're working on year 15, so we're not quite double, but I would say we are a good distance from the average. And so I would have to tell you something. I've been strategic about it. I've been strategic about our relationship. We've had date nights. We're strategic about the conversations that we have with each other. There's certain things we just do not say to each other. Like, there is quite a lot of strategy and intent that goes into the relationship. Now, that doesn't mean I choke it off from like all spontaneity. I mean, nobody wants that. But I would say that what makes our relationship perhaps different than the average is that we are strategic. And one of those things that we're really strategic about is presence. And I've taken that exact same principle into my business. And in my business, it's about presence. It's not about being the perfect. And for the first few years of my business, I want to let you know, I was really worried about not being good enough for you. I was so worried about it. I was worried that because I didn't have seven figures under my belt, that I was going to be a disappointment to you, because the perfect coach makes seven figures a year. The perfect coach looks like a Barbie doll. The perfect coach is a bro, right? Like, there's all of these ideals that we get fed over and over and over again about what is perfect. And that obsession with like my dissatisfaction with the fact that I didn't fit any of those paradigms was a huge obstacle that I had to overcome. And what I realized was that presence mattered one heck of a lot. Like presence mattered way lots more than my perfection in that presence. And I saw the same thing when I hosted my live events here in Fort Worth. I was like, I was not rocking high heels that whole time. I was making people dance. I was doing everything wrong and it was great, you know? So because I think that it's really important to be real. It's part of being real is allowing for the fact you have flaws, right? And that you're not perfect. Just because you have flaws though, and just because you're not perfect, and just because you don't have like the world's biggest social following, because like here's the ideal coach, right? The ideal coach is probably tall and blonde or is a bro and also probably tall and blonde. And the ideal coach makes 7 figures a year. And the ideal coach drives around in a Lamborghini, lives in a mansion, never actually works. The ideal coach is flirting with like 300 to 500,000 Instagram followers. The perfect coach has a New York Times bestseller. The perfect coach, you know what I'm saying? Like there's all these things that can feel so far out of reach. And when you compare it to where you stand, you know, and you feel kind of small, it's like, whew. Now, I'm not saying don't go for the New York Times best-selling book. You know, one of the things I'm really proud of this year in the Amanda Kaufman Show is I've been interviewing a lot of book coaches. I think people should write books, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't look after your health. I'm not saying that it's bad that you're blonde if you are. But what I am saying is that if you're using those ideals and those standards to prevent you from being centered and present, that lack of presence is going to be far more detrimental than you having a big nose or you being overweight or you having too many children or being too old or too young or whatever the thing is that you feel doesn't match some kind of a perfectionistic ideal. My big reminder for you today is that you're not too small to be impactful. You're not too small to be impactful. And I am reminded of this story about this kid who's like walking down the beach with their I think it was their uncle or something like that. He's walking down the beach and he picks up, the beach had been filled with starfish. There were just all these starfish, thousands of them as far as the eye could see. And the boy bends down and picks up a starfish, throws it back into the ocean. And he keeps, as he's walking along, just picking up one starfish at a time, throwing it out into the ocean. And his uncle goes, "What are you doing? Like, what's the point? Because there's thousands of them. There's no way that we can put all of these starfish back into the ocean." And the boy says, "It mattered to this one." And he just threw another one. I get goosebumps with that story. I love that story. You know, I've been doing a live video every single week for years, right? Years. And it is a rare thing for me to miss. It is more common for me to do more. And I share that with you because I've had lives where like nobody showed up, no one was there. And then I get a message later from somebody who caught the replay. You know, they were in my group, they got the replay, they watched the replay, they sent me a private message and they go, "Oh my God, I needed to hear that today. Thank you so much for doing that video today." And I was just like, "What? I didn't even think anybody noticed," right? Like I was just, you know, I thought that was just a dud topic. And, you know, that's happened many times. So I just want to share with you, like that has happened so many times. So I think a lot of my colleagues, they don't want to throw the starfish. They're like, if I can't get the entire beach clean of all starfish, then I'm not even going to start. That is black and white thinking. That is not having the level of impact that you can have meeting yourself exactly where you are right now. And just remember, you're early. You're early in your process wherever you are. I'm early. I'm early in my process. My mentors have been doing this for over 20 years and I've got 8, right? I've got 8 years that I've been doing this. I mean, being online and talking with people and coaching them and supporting them. Like you're just early. So stop having so much judgment for where you stand. Right? Stop having so much judgment for where you stand. Okay, I want to give you some visibility habits that have just changed my life. Literally, when I say changed my life, I don't mean that like I became this viral Kardashian sensation. I mean, I built a business to multiple six figures while raising a young family and retiring my husband that we could depend on this business. That is life changing. That is life changing. I used to, in my old career, I was expected to get on an airplane and travel in full regalia, it like the full, corporate outfit kind of thing, high rocking the high heels. And it was really fabulous. It was so fabulous in my 20s. It really, really was. And even into the very beginning of my 30s. But I'm a family lady. Like, I wanted the flexibility to be able to go to a doctor's appointment or go to a dentist appointment and not have to think about like orchestrating it super in advance so that my boss wasn't pissed off. Like, my life has changed. It has fundamentally changed. So let me just talk about three ideas. The first thing is, if you're not posting at all right now, I want you to commit to posting 3 times a week. 3 times a week. You pick the day, you pick the time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what time of day. There's no optimal here. The real optimal is we're activating you deciding to have visibility. Share a tip, share a story, or just ask a question, right? Like, it doesn't have to be this big engineered, super polished anything. The second thing is, I want you to go comment on other people's content every day. I mean, comment. Like, stop being such a voyeur. Let yourself go actually participate with people's content. Because, I think this helps for a couple of reasons. Number one, it jogs your creation juices. Like, just like, what can I say to this? What should I say to this? How can I add to this? Right? I love that. And that will help you build more of your original content. So that's thing number one. I think there's also a bit of a law of reciprocity here. You tend to attract the things that you put out into the world. So I'm a big fan of like supporting other people's content, hearting it, liking it, commenting on it as a matter of your process, because you're normalizing for yourself that that's what people do on social media. And when people start doing it for you, you'll expect it, right? The third thing that really helps with your visibility is just start a conversation every day. So I enrolled in a program last year where my mentor challenged me to open 5 conversations every day. And that makes a huge difference. Because I don't know if you knew this, but when you engage with somebody in DM, then the algorithm's more likely to serve their content to you. So if you open conversations with people in DM, they're more likely to notice your content the next time it comes across. I don't know for sure if that's like a real algorithmic thing or whether that's just kind of a proximity bias, like because somebody just talked to you recently, then the next time they see you post, then they're more likely to want to see it. They engage with it, then the algorithm's more likely to show it up. It's not about blowing up your social feeds. It's not about blowing up all your friends' inboxes. It's really just about showing up with a level of consistency. And that consistency is what gives you credibility, which allows you to continue to grow your business and grow your relationships and network and keep the flywheel going. So if this landed for you and you're ready to just stop feeling like you always have to perform and you want to start connecting, I want you to know that the Clients Over Chaos community is open and we are always welcoming people into it. If you DM me the word DWM, which stands for Do What Matters, I will make sure to send you the link to come and join us inside of the group. And that's where you're going to get, yes, the replays from all of our weekly live trainings, but you're also going to get our daily spark. So if you're looking for motivation, like to stay focused on your business, particularly every single day, you want to be in that group because every single day I'm sharing with you a short 5-minute audio that's meant to get you going, get you motivated towards your business. And it is awesome. I've gotten tremendous feedback from that. Now, remember, you don't need a viral moment. You need consistent impact moments with the right people. Start showing up like the coach that you actually are, right? Like I'm in the same outfits and in the same regalia that I would be if I was joining you for a coaching call today. And that's exactly what I'm going to do with my clients today. Just start showing up like the coach that you really already are, because the right clients are already watching you. And with that, I'm going to make sure we get this replay posted inside the Clients Over Chaos community. If you love this, let me know in the chat. If there's other topics, then make sure that you ask it. I just noticed we got a question from a community member that I want to share with you. She asked, do you need to post on what your coaching practice is? I think it's a good idea to represent who you are. So if you're somebody who's an expert in money, then the way that you create content is you talk about money. If you're an expert in relationships, you talk about relationships. If you're an expert in health, you talk about health. I think it is best to have your profile really optimized for what you want people to know you for. So for example, you could put in your link in bio details about who you are and what you do, right? I think it's a good idea and a good practice to have a link at least to your website that talks more about what it is that you do. Because when people find your content interesting, they tend to go visit your profile. When they visit your profile, then they're going to see all of those additional details. I'm not a big fan of the hard sell on social media. I don't think that that's a good way to build rapport with people if you're very pitch slappy. But if you keep what you do a secret, that doesn't work either. So what I find, and I'm working right now, we've got a beta of the coaching gold mine, which is now available on our website. If you go to thecoachesplaza.com or you check out my link in bio, you can go to our website anytime. And that course is really all about how do you choose the right message? How do you decide what to put out there, and how do you test what's working, and how do you double down on that, as well as helping you to choose what is the right problem of appropriate magnitude to apply your coaching towards. Because so many people are rushing to go and get clients and build really complicated marketing machines. And it turns out that they're not even talking about something that people pay for. So that's like a lot of wasted effort. And it's where a lot of people have gone, because marketers are great marketers and marketers love to sell their marketing. So there's this thing in the industry where people are super obsessed with the tactics and the technology of marketing. But the thing that actually works when it comes to building an expert business is solving a problem people care about with your expertise. So that's what you're showcasing on your social media. That's what you're putting on your website. That's how you're getting people to know you. In terms of like the broader strategy, I think that having like moments where people can join you for live webinars, where people can join you, like this is a live stream. So I'm just like talking to you real time, right? So people can ask questions, they can kind of share what's going on. And like, that's so super cool. However, most people don't have a more formalized way of showcasing their genius. So for me, what I really, really love is I love hosting webinars. And I host those webinars, on a rhythm, on a cadence, at least once a month. I have a showcase of my knowledge and of solving a particular problem with that knowledge, then logical invitation forward. And when you've got people in kind of a more intentional space, like a webinar, then when you make the invitation to sit down and have a consult, or you make the invitation to sell something, or you make that invitation forward into the sale, it's not icky, right? It's like, oh, well, that's logical because I just finished solving the problems to an extent and a degree, and now I understand there's next steps that I can follow. Those are gated, those are paid, but like the willingness to participate is way higher. So kind of think of it kind of like your social media is meeting people, and it's talking to people, it's engaging with people, and it's nurturing people forward. But then you need more than that. You need to have your email list, you need to have your webinar structure, and have your programs kind of sing together to build something that's profitable over the long term. Yes. So Deborah just asked, is there somewhere I can go to learn how to produce and post webinars? Yes, that is part of our Experts Network program. So our Experts Network program is our more advanced coaching program. And in there, we have a library of different courses that are available to you. And one of those is the Classy Masterclass Mastery Class, which is my prescriptive step-by-step. What are the emails to send? What are the slides to include? What is the structure? All of that. And so if you have a desire to upgrade to the Experts Network, or you want to talk to me about whether that would be a good thing or not, just head to pickamandasbrain.com and you can book a coffee with me. All I ask is you buy me a cup of coffee for my time, but you can book a coffee with me and we can talk about whether that would be something worth exploring in a deeper way or not. It is an investment, but it also gives you like a year of access, and you get a huge library of things telling you prescriptively exactly what what to do when it comes to those webinars. Super duper. Okay, guys. Well, we've made it to the end of our live stream for this week. I'm super excited that you joined me. Thank you so much for being here. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.